Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to 117 here on the All We Can Facebook channel. It's a great privilege to have each and every single one of you here watching live, or if you're watching on replay, hello to each one of you as well. Be sure to give this video a like, give it a share as well, so you can spread the news of 117 here on the All We Can Facebook page and also YouTube channel too. But special welcome to all of you watching here live today for today's conversation with Katie Cannon that I'm going to introduce to you in just a few moments time. But let us know how you're doing. Let us know what's been going on in your world today as we hold together. This space has become increasingly important as we kind of enter these different phases of lockdown here in the UK, but also as we recognise around the world, countries are also facing a similar challenge that we are too facing with COVID-19 in the questions of lockdown or tiers or other matters of fact. So we want to hold together in this space as ever to set aside some time to be with one another. But it leaves me no further ado to sort of introduce a very good friend, someone you've seen already at 117 for the last 2 Mondays. But I'm delighted that she's joining us here live today on 117. That's Katie Cannon. Katie, hello to you.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, really good. It's good to see you, Katie. Are you doing well? Tell everyone where you're based at present.
Yeah, sure. So I'm in Croydon, South Croydon. Not long lived here since July. So settling in well. But yeah, we're unfortunately now in tier 2, so not the best place to be at the moment.
No, and we're holding together all those different. We prayed on Friday for the changes of those that's going on around this country. And Katie, your role is being affected obviously because of COVID and because of the different tier structures as well. And tell everyone what's joining us here today, kind of what your role is, and also the impacts, I guess, that's had as well on that role.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a secondary schools worker for a Christian charity called Sutton Schools Work, completely independent organisation that's solely based on the support from churches and other charities, basically. Now, we weren't, as soon as lockdown first started in March, obviously schools they all shut down. So obviously our first point of call was just to pray for starters. And then we sent out emails to all our contacts in school saying, we're here for you if we can support you in any way. So then my job sort of kind of went to being a YouTuber all of a sudden. Instead of being in a school every day, it would be to stand and sit in front of a camera and record videos. And to this day now, we're struggling to get back into some schools. There's one particular school that have invited us back in for the past couple of weeks. We've been running workshops there. It seemed we're in a bit of a quiet time again now. Lots of schools are unfortunately sort of saying not at the moment because they can't allow visitors in because of COVID. So yeah, it's majorly impacted the work, but God is still working in some amazing ways.
Yes, that's amazing. It's challenging as well. It's amazing, but also challenging that you've been able to adapt. And I'm sure lots of people here watching live will kind of echo those thoughts of feeling like you're becoming a YouTuber. I heard the phrase vlogger being used, which is a phrase that was used a number of years ago, but I haven't heard it for a while. But I feel like we're all becoming people that vlog quite a lot. That means that we're using a lot of video content. Obviously, people that are watching here at 117 have got used to our video content here. Before we kind of get into our Bible sort of study, kind of reflection, kind of conversation, Katie, is there kind of things that you've noticed that are or what kind of prayer points that you want to kind of share for the young people that you've recognized that is important in your context? Because obviously, not all of us get the opportunity to be in contact with schools and teachers or even students for that matter. You know, what's kind of been kind of a topic of conversation? Has there been anything that's kind of come out of the last few months that is on your mind, you know, when it comes to preparing assemblies or preparing content? What's kind of been the common theme, if I can ask that question?
Yeah, 100%. I think something that's been on my heart from day one really is it's like pastorally supporting young people. Because this is a crazy time, particularly for the young people that where their exams were cancelled, and when they were moving on up to university and that kind of thing. So when I'm prepping talks and videos and assemblies along with my colleagues, it's just all about trying to support the young people in this time that no one could have ever predicted, and really sort of talking about issues that they will be facing themselves, particularly things to do with mental health. And sort of one of the workshops that we've been running a lot recently is the problem of knife crime, and sort of being about Christians being peacemakers in this world that we live in. And that seems to be sort of really well received and in quite high demand by quite a few schools nowadays, because of everything that's going on for young people. So just to support them really in a pastoral sense, and just really look after their well-being more than anything else.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so important, isn't it? Especially in this time, we recognise the pressures, you know, not just for us as adults in the society, but the pressures that you know our young children, our young adults are facing. And you know, as someone who's got an ear to the ground, someone who's talking all the time to schools and to young people, I think it's really important, a message for us to think about all we can. I've been privileged to kind of see how we've taken mental well-being really seriously, you know, even within our staff team here. You know, even this pandemic, we have, you know, opportunities during our week to kind of have a space to listen to some soothing music, some space to kind of come together and just kind of have a bit of 10 minutes of mental well-being space where we can, you know, be present, but also opportunities for social activities on Zoom and other things, but they've all been geared towards our mental well-being. But you know, we can often forget that actually well-being doesn't start when you're 18. Well-being starts from the youngest age possible, doesn't it? You know, your well-being has to be considered, you know, throughout. So I think it's a really good reminder, Katie. I thank you for that. But actually, maybe when we're next planning our next prayer gathering, whether you're in a church setting or whether you're leading worship in your next setting, wherever it may be, you know, remember to think of our young people that actually are dealing with this crisis just like us in their own way. And actually, we have to remember them in prayer and in support as well. And, you know, I think that's a really timely reminder, Katie. And you know, obviously, especially when it comes to being peacemakers as well.
Definitely.
You know, talking of peacemakers, it strikes me that that's a really nice segue, Katie, actually, to talk about a little bit of what we've been reflecting on about Ruth. Because Ruth was, in the Bible, someone that was a peacemaker, someone that kind of sought, you know, almost had those kind of peace-like characteristics. And we've been reading for the last few weeks. Obviously, you know, you've been helping us unpack the story of Ruth for a little while. And I want to kind of continue that little conversation that we started a couple of weeks ago, if that's all right, Katie.
Yeah,
to kind of go through, we're going to talk a little bit in broader terms today about kind of the end of the last two chapters of Ruth, and encourage you that if you're watching this live or on replay, to grab your Bibles if you want to, and take a few moments maybe this afternoon to read the story of Ruth for yourselves. But you know, what has been kind of the biggest takeaway for you, Katie, in the past few weeks when we've been thinking about the story of Ruth? You know, what's kind of been those big things that have come out to you?
I think the whole book of Ruth in the Bible is such an inspirational book that we can all learn like so much from, and it can really teach us to be how to live a Christian life and how to have a close relationship with God. But I think particularly I really love the commitment that Ruth shows to her family, particularly Naomi and her mother-in-law, and like her characteristics and her personality and what she does and what she surrenders to be able to look after her and care for her. I think that story in itself teaches us so much, and really helps us, particularly with our relationship with God as well, and sort of having to keep that commitment and that care. And that's what God feels for us too. So
yeah, no, definitely. And it's almost like life is not always a straight line, isn't it? It's it feels often life is, I think I've shared in 117 before, but it's this idea that we hold in parallel life's journey of kind of the joys right now in this period of time, but also the hardships. And it seems like every day it's kind of like that train track of life where we are constantly going through like life's real joyous moments, isn't it? We have these really these lovely moments where just before we came online and went live, you was got to see your goddaughter, my youngest daughter, and just like life's little nice moments where we get to see each other's faces and smiles, but also life's difficult moments when we also remember we haven't seen each other for months now, since actually your wedding day. We'll probably get to at another 117 talking about that in terms of the reflections about getting married in lockdown, but life's big moments and life's difficult moments, but also life's challenges. And it's somewhat reflects about that story of Ruth, that actually life doesn't just go in a straight line, does it? Life often takes turns and moments of difficulty. Am I right?
Definitely, life can literally go like this, like a roller coaster. And yeah, it's like a road that has potholes. It's like ditches either side and long stretches where you might not see another car for a long, long time. And life of someone who is serving God is more like that picture, I think, where it can be a bit more like this.
Definitely. And we've kind of reflected, haven't we, about so far in this story of Ruth, where she's gone with Naomi, she's committed to her mother-in-law, she's continued on the life journey, she's met Boaz, and in the next two chapters, what you begin to see is the story of how she begins to be in relationship with Boaz, and the difficulties in Ruth chapter 3 in particular. Maybe you want to share a little bit of what those difficulties maybe in chapter 3, and then we'll talk about chapter 4 briefly as well.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we've covered chapter 1 and 2 in the past couple of weeks, and Naomi and Ruth make a really risky move in the middle of the night. So Ruth goes to Boaz on the threshing floor and says, in effect, basically, that I want you to spread your wing over me as my husband. But right when the tragedy of Ruth's widowhood seems to be resolved into a beautiful love story, an Amazon lorry rolls out onto the road of Ruth's life. And there is another man who, according to Hebrew custom, has prior claim to marry Ruth. Now, the impeccably honest Boaz will not proceed without giving this man his lawful opportunity. So chapter 3 ends again in the suspense of another setback.
Yeah, and life, often seems to have those setbacks, doesn't it? And I wonder, those of you that are in, watching this live, maybe, you can look back at these last few months and maybe see for yourself, maybe you might be feeling those kind of moments of setback, isn't it? And let's be honest with one another in this time, maybe even in our work here at All We Can, we recognise that actually, the challenges that COVID-19 are going to have is that it's going to bring some development setbacks. It's going to mean that the development gains that we've been able to do over the last, decade potentially will be knocked. And actually that means that the support is needed even more now than ever, because we want to continue that momentum forward and not allow those setbacks to stifle people's potential. That's what All We Can is all about, seeing people's potential fulfilled. And actually chapter 4, what we begin to see unpack in this story is how actually through God's work that actually Boaz is able to be joined together with Ruth, and then you begin to see the lineage that begins to be unpacked in the Old Testament as well in this beautiful picture. And just kind of lastly, as we kind of unpack this story of Ruth in a different ways in the last few weeks, it's not just a love story, is it? This is a story of hope, isn't it, Katie?
Definitely. I think that story of hope is something that we all need as well at the moment. And the book of Ruth wants us not only to teach that God's purpose for life of his people is to connect us to something far, far greater than ourselves. God wants us to know that when we follow him, our lives always mean more than we think that they actually do. For Christians, there is always a connection between the ordinary events of life and the stupendous work of God in history. Everything we do in obedience to God, no matter how small, is so significant.
Yeah. And I couldn't put it any better, really. Those things which actually, everything has significance. Your life has significance if you're watching this today live, or we watched it on catch up. The lives of those of our partners are significant. The impact that they have is significant. And actually, we've been talking, Katie, for a number of weeks now in 117 and through all weekends. Most recent Change Begins with a Bike campaign. How the bicycle that might look quite insignificant actually has the potential to transform and break the cycle of poverty. And God is in the business of taking what's ordinary and making it extraordinary. And it leads me really nicely to kind of say, and James, you'll like this little link, as you said before, a nice smooth link before, gives me a nice little link to actually just talk a little bit about actually what I've got on my desk. After doing my clear out, I prioritize on my desk what I had, and that's the new extraordinary gifts catalogue for All We Can, which is packed full of what seems ordinary little gifts, things that you could get for your friends and family, but actually they've got extraordinary potential and they're really significant, and the impact it can have is really significant as well. And want to encourage you to think about that as you kind of journey on this movement that is All We Can, to continue to support as we look ahead to Christmas. Because Katie, Christmas is not that long away, is it?
No, I'm a big Christmas fan as well, so the countdown is on.
It's your first Christmas as a canon as well, I should say. So that's exciting for you.
It is.
When do you normally get your Christmas gifts, Katie? Do you normally get them early, or are you a late person?
It varies. I feel I want to be more organised this year. So I'm hoping that I want to start my Christmas shopping soon rather than later. I'm one of those people that actually do it all online though.
Okay. Well, because you're one of those people, that's a good thing, because actually All We Can's catalogue is also online, I should say, as well. So you can actually buy your gifts online. We'll drop the link down in the comment section for people to be made aware, because it's only 2 months to Christmas now. So do get ahead of the game, Katie, or anyone else watching this, and see how actually something really significant this Christmas can happen through extraordinary gifts. Sally, I know you can see you in the comments saying, shush, don't say Christmas yet. I know you're probably fearing that conversation already in your churches, of having those Christmas conversations already. And Tim's rightly said 67 days to Christmas, believe it or not. So do go ahead and follow the link that we put in the chat, allwecan.org.uk/shop. And you can find all the details out of all those small but significant things that you could do for this Christmas time, and order it all online if you want to. Katie, it's been so good for us in the last few weeks to kind of unpack the story of Ruth together, the aspects of surrender and etc. I wonder if you would just lead us in a short prayer for, in particular, for the work of Sutton schools. We're delighted that you could be with us today and to share a little bit of, the story of what's been going on with Sutton schools, but also the challenges that are faced. And I think it would be nice if we could just end with you just giving a short prayer, maybe for the work that you're involved in and what the church is involved in. And then we will hopefully catch up with you down the line as well.
Of course, yeah. Let's pray. God, I thank you so much for not only the gift of technology that we're able to meet with people just online now and in the future, God. But I really pray for this crazy dark time that it seems that we're in at the moment. I just pray that you'll have your hand upon just All We Can's work as well, for all the amazing things that they do. And just in that catalogue, as Matt was just showing, that the small things that might seem really small to us are actually make a really huge impact on the children, on the young people, on the families all around the world, God. So I just really pray for children, young people. I pray for organisations such as Sutton Schools Work, but also lots of other ones too. I pray for every young person in this world right now, particularly in the UK, as we're facing all these new restrictions and these new tiers. I pray that children and young people will be able to sort of start to adapt themselves into this new normal that we seem to be in at the moment, God, and that you would just have your hand upon them. As we heard in lockdown back in March and April time, more and more people were turning to prayer, which is amazing, God. So I just pray that more people will turn to you, that this time we'll be able to use it and sow the seed in children, young people, in whatever age people are, the youngest person on the earth to the oldest. I just pray that we'll be able to get your word out and to have that sense of hope, like what this story of Ruth has taught us. Be with us all, protect us and our loved ones, and keep us safe. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Katie, thank you so much again for joining us at 117. Thank you to all of you that have been watching here live. If you're watching on replay, it's great to see you all as well. Many people saying amen along with that prayer today, Katie. So be encouraged on your way in all that you do. And like I said, hopefully we'll see you soon down the line. But until then, everyone, God bless. Take care. We'll see you very soon.
Bye.